So, hello, welcome. I'm very excited today to be doing Merlin, the magician. And I've actually just been on a walk, and on the coastal cliff path, there were some Merlins with their newly fledged little birds. Well, they look the same size as the adults, and they were kind of learning to fly. So I thought, oh wow, what a wonderful metaphor for um, diving into Merlin and learning about his amazing gifts. And I'm really interested in doing this as women as well, because for us, Merlin can potentially be our inner archetypal male that we call upon, or that we invest energy in, or we can find a tangible archetype to work with in Merlin. I certainly feel like I can. So I really like his energies, and he's kind of come into my realm. Most of you know I'm very interested in the dark goddess energies, and Lilith, for example, embodies a lot of light and dark, and Merlin is a similar archetype in the masculine. We'll go into his birth story, but basically he embodies like a huge range of light and dark. And rather than this being a problem, this is actually where his amazing gifts of healing and prophecy and seership come from, having had this kind of depth of journey of life. So I really kind of like those kind of archetypes because they mirror myself, and most of the people who I'm drawn to have that kind of yeah, that sort of depth of experience. And if not directly, then through people they are meeting. So, yeah, and it feels important in this kind of world full of chaos and darkness that we have some ways of integrating that and bringing wholeness, rather than kind of pushing it away where it just turns into a deeper monster, that we're able to kind of look at it and feel into it, and our gene key gives us specific shadows and gifts to work with, which I really like. So I'm going to do the same with Merlin as we did with Nemesis, because I think he's really worthy of deeper exploration. So I'm going to begin with how to find our Merlin. Now, if you don't want to do Find Your Merlin, you can just come and join in, and you'll get as much from the conversation, because people often do, without knowing where your specific one is. Um, and we'll do like 3 sessions where we look at the shadow, the gift, and the city. But you can just come along and speak into what other people have said, or how you feel Merlin in your own being. But I'm going to show you how to find it anyway, because it's on astro.com. So let me share astro.com first of all. So this is a website you can use for free, so it's quite good. The page I'm on at the moment, so it's www.astro.com, and then you can find the page that is My Astro. And you can actually do as many charts as you like here. And you can obviously put your own information in. So I tend to use this for bodies that Taraka doesn't have, because then there's another process you've got to do to look up the gene key, which is a bit of a pain. But so this one, there's 2 processes and Taraka's 1. So Okay, so what we're going to click on here, excuse all these other boxes jumping up, is the extended chart selection. And in here, you can put in any number of an asteroid. So any asteroid you're interested, you can Google and you can find the number. And the number for Merlin is 2598. So I'm going to add this on. These are all my Liliths here. I'm going to add on Merlin, and then we're going to press show the chart. Okay. So it's going to come up, and my Merlin is over here. I've got him in the 4th house, and he's a 26 Sagittarius, 38 minutes, which I've always been excited about my Merlin, but this is the first time I've really explored my Merlin because
Allison, which chart type was that?
which chart type? So I just put in.
Because I didn't have that little box to put anything in.
Oh, okay. So have you put your details in yet?
Yeah, I have an account. I just there should be like a transit calendar or chart type.
Yeah, chart selection.
You have to go back, I guess. Yeah. I can't really see it on yours. So
Okay.
natal chart wheel is what you have.
Yeah, it's a natal chart wheel, web
I'm trying to
details.
find that.
And then you've got to put the number in the extended chart selection, which is like a little box. If I go back, can I find the little box now? Yeah. Um,
I don't have the box
you don't have
necessarily.
the box. Okay. How annoying.
I know.
Um, hmm. Okay, well, let's try and figure that out later, why it hasn't done it. Maybe I'll put your info into my thing and let you know what it comes up with. But yeah, essentially, okay, so try this first though. So if you've got your info, have you gone on to My Astro user profile up here in the corner, My Astro user profile, and then click on your own profile. And then you should get this extended chart selection come up. Did that work?
Yeah, I
Okay.
could get into that page. It was just the next page doesn't have that little box at the yellow box.
Okay, so even though you press the extended thing, it doesn't bring that box up.
Oh, maybe is it under um default or additional objects? Additional objects, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, additional objects. Yeah.
Okay. Manual entry. Got it. Okay.
Yay.
That's what
Okay.
I needed. And so then what is the number?
It is 2598.
I see.
And
Okay.
then you're going to press chart 2598, show the chart. Okay, so it's going to bring up your Merlin. Sometimes it's hard to see on here, but there's a little box underneath, and that will give you the exact position there. So mine's 26 Sag, 37 minutes. Now,
Oh, okay. I see it. Yay.
yay! Okay, so tell us what it is so that when we go to the next page, we can look at it.
19 Sag and then a 1330. something like that.
Okay, that's 13 minutes. Okay. So just to say as well, with this astro.com, there's another button there you can push with transits, and then it gives you a kind of outer wheel with things around the outside. Um,
Oh, okay.
and here we can see, actually, interestingly, we'll look at what's more closely, that Lilith and Merlin are conjunct today. At in so Merlin's at 13 degrees Scorpio today. So
Got
that's
it.
a handy thing to know if you ever want to know what's going on right now. Okay, so I'm going to come out of that, and then I'm going to share phase two of this process. This is a little bit long-winded than Taraka, but it is useful to be able to know. Okay, so I'm going to share now something called the HD synthesis. Um, and apologies for those of you who already know all this. Okay, so this is called the synthesis for human design system, and it tells you what gene keys are, what part of the zodiac. So here we are on Scorpio. Um, so we know actually, how amazing. Merlin is in gene key 1 at the moment. That's perfect because gene key 1 is the pure yang, magical energy. It's connected with dragon energy in the Chinese hexagrams. So that's a really cool position for Merlin to be in at the moment. So let's look for Tara's here. So yours is actually in gene key 26, which is a great one for Merlin as well. It's very magical gene key. It's connected with Wales, which is one of the places that Merlin hangs out. And it has the city of invisibility and the gift of artfulness. So it's a very kind of magical Merlin-esque energy, the 26. And so your Merlin is at 19 13 minutes, which is gene key 29, 26, line 3. Wonderful. That's actually my my purpose is 26 line 3. So that's cool.
Thank you.
And you can see mine there is 26 degrees. So our mine's 11 line 5 in the one next door. So if you don't have this and you can't find this online, you can ask me and I can WhatsApp it to you or email it to you. And it's a way you can find anything you like. Okay, so yeah, Alicia, we've just come in and I was just showing people how to find Merlin on astro.com, and we're going to be looking at it 3 sessions. So watch this again in the classes and you'll be able to get that information and get your Merlin. And if you have any trouble, let me know and I will help you. I will help any of you. Okay, so let's jump into Merlin. So I've done a presentation here. And yeah, and I feel like this is such a good day to do Merlin after seeing these birds basically teaching their young to fly, sort of swooping and stuff on the cliffs. It was really cool. Imagine that, like just seeing them flying so fast. Imagine being one of these birds and you've got to get used to learning how to be in this little aerodynamic body that can go so fast. It must be really amazing. Okay, so I was thinking of because what happened is we saw the merlins teaching their young to fly, and then the seagulls came over with their young. And yeah, just thinking about, because we see them here, they're like give birth on a rooftop near us. It's because we're in a fishing port. We've got lots of seagulls giving birth here, and they're just fledging now. And imagine their first touch in the sea and the first time they take flight. And I guess there's something in that magic today, like the freshness, maybe. That's Gene Key 1 is the gift of freshness, where Merlin is at the moment. Okay, so most of the information I'm going to share here comes from this amazing book I've been reading for about 2 months because it's like so mind-boggling. It's called Merlin, Shaman, Prophet, Magician by John Matthews. John and Caitlin Matthews are really good writers on the Celtic mysteries. If you ever want to explore them, then I would really recommend this couple. They're so good. And what drew me to this book is this amazing cover because he looks so kind of wild here in this image. So it's an auspicious time for Merlin. Just discovered he's in Gene Key 1 at the moment, which is 13 degrees of Scorpio. Um, and today was actually a Venus moon gate, where the Venus and moon conjunct in Gene Key 45, which moves from domination to synergy to communion. And this gene key, in fact, I'll talk about it later when I look at the chart, but it's very interesting because it's about us all becoming shining lights in the web of life. You know, every time one of us awakens, it benefits the whole. So we really want to be encouraging everyone to awaken and supporting ourselves, other people in any way we can to do that through simple friendship, through listening, through gratitude. There's just so many ways. Then we've got a new moon on the 24th of July, which is at 2 degrees Leo. The day out of time comes the next day. Now, I think it's blue rhythmic night, but I'm going to get Pat to say, because she knows a lot more about Mayan astrology at the end, to tell us a bit more about this bit. And then on the 26th, the Mayan New Year begins with yellow resonance seed. So this is a really powerful week, and it's what's called the Lions Gate, which happens every year, where Sirius rises with the sun. And Sirius was a really important star to the Egyptians and to many cultures. It's a beautiful, bright star in the heavens, and it used to portend the flooding of the Nile and the return of fertility to the land before they built the dam. That is. But yeah, but the rising is still an important time for things to be seeded, and especially the day out of time. Anything is possible in the day out of time. So it's a great week to explore and get into Merlin because Merlin kind of lives out of time all the time. So he's a great one. It's actually Adam's birthday as well. So it's going to be a really fun weekend for us. Okay, so if you ever try and find out who was Merlin, there's a lot of confusing information out there because there's a number of people historically who may have been Merlin. Um, and so this just gives the essence of it, of the main stories really about him. So this was really of interest to me when I found out that Merlin was born of a woman and a devil. And it is said that the devil was trying to create an antichrist in Merlin. But because his mum either was a nun at the time or became a nun, and she gave herself and Merlin into the auspices of Our Lady, that Merlin was kind of, his soul was kept in the light, basically. But this vast range of shadow and light is what gives Merlin his healing and prophetic abilities. And I think this is something for us because we're experiencing that more and more. Like the more we awaken, the more we actually experience the range of shadow and light within us and within humanity, the more we feel it all. And so I feel like Merlin is one of those archetypes who can help us kind of have the courage to just kind of breathe into it and open our arms to it rather than going, no, it's not me. You know, in that way we try and do really when we forget that we're living in one vast field of energy here on Earth and we're all interconnected to each other. That's another gene key 45, which we'll see what's going on in the chart with that. So I left out a story actually, which I will mention. I've mentioned it previously when I did Nimue that Merlin is taken to Wales where a king called Vortigern is trying to build a tower, and every night the tower falls down and his priests say to him that they need to find a boy without a father and sacrifice him, and then he'll be able to build his tower. And they find this boy, Merlin, but what Merlin actually does is tell Vortigern that there's these two dragons, the red and the white, trapped beneath this mountain, and Merlin frees them and thus he is one of his first big magical acts, you might say. Then in his younger adult years, he goes mad because of seeing the horror of war and for something he did as well. So reading between the lines, he's responsible for the death of his lover, who may also be his sister, son, and so he has this complete breakdown, and he goes into the forest. He lives alone. He becomes one with the animals and the stars, and it's really from this kind of going mad, breaking down of the normal ego experience that he has these great gifts of prophecy arise. So these are just some of the things he goes on to do. He plays a hand in the birth of both King Arthur and Galahad by creating illusions, and is therefore a guide behind the unfolding lineage of the rulership of kings and Grail knights. And his otherworldly nature is also his power. The oldest written mention of him is in the 9th century in a Welsh poem, but the oral tradition will go back a lot further than that. And he's said to created the round table for King Arthur, which is kind of an Aquarian sacred geometry because everyone is equal in the round table. So this was a place where all the knights of the round table could be equals. And it's the beginning of a breakdown of hierarchical leadership, which is again another theme of the 45th gene key, which takes us towards the system of heterarchy. So rather than information coming down from the top, that all of us are lights in the web of life. And a bit like the way neurons work in the brain, the information is moving through all of us. So when we're in our high frequencies, it's like the creator's energy flows through us, and we know exactly what to do in our world. And that starts to weave beautifully with all of those around us. So there's no one dominating, there's no one forcing. It's all kind of flowing like a great river of life and evolution, and no one's interfering either. Um, these are all things we're learning to be non-interfering. So he also creates the sword in the rock, which uh, Arthur pulls out, and most people think that's the same as Excalibur, but Excalibur is actually a far superior sword that is given as a kind of fighting weapon of kingship to King Arthur. And finally, which I've talked about before, he's locked into a tower of glass by Nimue, who he's in love with. But I've talked about this, and John and Caitlin Matthews talk about this as an act of initiation for Merlin to almost like a Saturn return, where suddenly everything is much more constricted than it had been previously. Lots of doors close, but the right one always opens too. Okay, so what's Merlin in astrology? So it tells us about our relation to magic. And magic is the ability to call upon the elemental energies and other world to create a new reality. So I feel I really want to say this, and I know we all know this, to always align magic with the highest service and the light. It's actually very easy to fall into black magic where we're trying to manifest a relationship or for personal gain, and we just forget about that. Let's make this for the highest good, for alignment with the greatest plan. So we're not trying to force. It's another way of forcing actually is black magic, whereas white magic is the perception of what is unfolding, the awakening of our intuition so that we know which is the correct path for ourselves. So our planetary and asteroid placement, you can look at what's conjuncted or in a strong aspect to it, gives a flavor of how this energy might flow through you. So for example, I'm really quite chuffed that my Merlin is conjunct the galactic center, because that's like this huge black hole from which the whole of creation comes. So it feels like a super powerful place for Merlin to be placed in the chart, and anything you have in the galactic center is in a very powerful placement. But you might have a conjunct planet like Pluto. You may be drawn into the dark magic. That may be your role, is to figure out what is the light and dark. Or Saturn, you might feel the restrictions. Uranus, it might be about these kind of shocking ways that you transform and liberate yourself and others. And we'll be looking at that as we go through the shadow, the gift, and the city. So we'll have an opportunity to really look at this one closely, because I think he's really important. And we may see him as a yang part of ourselves. So he's a powerful ally for women, um, in activating our highest yang energies and understanding our magical gifts. And our yang energies is like what takes us out into the world, what gets us taking action, doing. But when those come from a really clear place as a light in the matrix of life, then we know what to do. We know how to take action, and then our action is really effective. Whereas when we are uncertain, in doubt, we don't really know what we're doing, or even worse, we're doing what we really don't want to do. I don't think any of us fall into that category, but there's many, many people in the world, in jobs and in lives, they really don't want to be in. So this is Merlin can help us kind of find the right action for ourselves. And sometimes that one gene key, I think, can be quite useful just to kind of hone it down. Okay, so what we will do for next week is look, if you haven't managed to find out what yours is today and you struggle with that, please let me know and I'll help you find out what gene key it is. And then next week we will talk about how we feel the shadow of the specific gene key is something present or maybe not in our lives. Don't feel you have to say it's there if it's not. This is about a space to be really honest and authentic. Okay, so I'm going to pause the recording. Hold on a